Happy New Year. It's 2024 and we did it big. We went out to Corona, California. That's past Chino Hills, Chino Thrills, you know what I'm saying? The land of many targets. We went down the 101 to the 10 to the 91 to the 71. And we wound up in Corona, which is about an hour away in good traffic. And we had great traffic from Hot Tongue, which is in Silver Lake. So about an hour away of LA. Last time I was out there was 9 years ago. I went and got a purebred, illegal Craigslist dog named Kevin. The joy and pain in my ass dog. He's a purebred Pekingese. Holy moly. Don't get mad. We basically saved this dog. That's where I picked up my dog, Kevin. We went out to Corona to Fat Lip Pizza and talked to Chris. Chris, during the pandemic, searching for a great school district for his daughter, moved from the San Francisco area down to Temecula, which is even farther away from Los Angeles, maybe an hour and a half. If you're out there, probably for a wedding or drinking some wine, maybe you're doing some boot scoot boogie, who knows? Chris found a retired mail truck out in Palmdale and transformed it into a mobile pizza operation, which he used to pop up at these wineries and breweries. And not too long after that, started searching for a brick and mortar and kind of landed on the Unicorn. He talks more about that, but his space was incredible. We talked about his branding and the journey he went through to land on the branding that he has, which is exceptional. We talk about the incredible space, how he got it, and how he has used influencers and the community in his first year and a half of business to grow his audience on Instagram and grow customers in and around Corona. We also talk about keeping it simple, something that I've struggled with since probably birth. I gotta mention, please, if you're watching this, like, subscribe to the YouTubes. If you're listening on Apple, give us a 5-star rating. Drop us a line, give us a little comment, get creative. Say something wild, say something weird, say something normal, just say something. And of course, give us a 5-star on Spotify if that's where you listen. We really appreciate it. These things help the pod. I think you're really gonna enjoy this episode. At the end, Chris might even send you a business plan. So look out for that. It was a great episode to start the year off. We got to eat some of Chris's pizza. He was so nice to cook us some pizza. We tasted his hot honey that he makes in-house, and his ranch is phenomenal. He has something I've never even heard of. He has hot ranch, which might be the next shit. Chris, you're crazy for that one. If you're gonna remember one thing through this podcast, remember this. The Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Chris, thanks for your time. Killer Bees forever. Fat Lip Pizza, Corona, we out.
I've been cooking since I was 15. It's been like literally my only job. And I thought, I'm going to be a Michelin chef, or at least high-end fine dining. And I did that for a long time, but I got disillusioned with it because this was kind of around the time of like a lot of the molecular gastronomy stuff. And it became for the sake of that, not for the sake of the food. It was like the show. It was this foam or this gel or this, this technique. And I just go, you know what? It's all bullshit. It became less food. I gave it a crack. And I kind of realized that once I got to the, kind of the top of that if I was gonna do it, like it would have happened. So I think I kind of lacked the talent for like that really, really high end, like narcissistic, like ego-driven stuff. And so I kind of stepped back. I took a job in San Francisco at Hog Island Oyster Company in the Ferry Building. And that was like refreshing because it was like oysters and stews and po' boys and, food. And I loved that job. It was a great job. But I eventually got involved with a small restaurant group in San Francisco. They had 7 restaurants and 5 of them were pizza. And so I was kind of like, the culinary director. I was watching over all the kitchens and putting out fires and, ordering equipment or having things serviced and this and that. And, we always had meetings on the numbers. And what I saw was the Better Burger concept did okay. The Mexican restaurant did okay, but the pizza restaurants were killing it and making money, like real money. And so I thought about that for a long time, and just the way that food costs works. Like for instance, if you're just gonna say you want to open a deli, well, 40% of a sandwich is meat, and yeah, I love sandwiches as much as anybody else, but to get your numbers to work, you're $15-16 for a sandwich, and everyone's price sensitive. And I'm not saying we do cheap pizza, because our pizza, in the grand scheme of things, is expensive.
Yeah.
But I'm able to control the costs. And that's, I think that if you go into business already kind of behind that 8 ball with like all those costs there, then to make any money at it, you're doing yourself a disservice. I saw the pizza model as something that was actually viable.
And so you're in San Francisco. You are dissecting the numbers.
Yeah.
You're understanding that, hey, this pizza thing was a good racket.
It actually kind of works.
Yeah. But what made you like fully jump into this industry?
I think a couple of trips that we took over the years, really made me fall in love with pizza. We happened to be staying at an Airbnb in Rome, like near Vatican City, and it was raining. We were soaked to the bone, me and my wife, and we ended up. We got there. We're like, what's close by? We asked the host, what's close by that we can eat? And they're like, oh, there's a pizza shop down around the corner. Well, it turned out that pizza shop was Bonchi. And I was like, we went to Bonchi, and I was like, it was so different and so wonderful and so over the top. And, his personality, he was there, he's so over the top. And that was one of probably like the first times that I was like, man, pizza doesn't have to be crap. It can be really good. We had one that had like scrambled eggs on it, and we still talk about it. This is like 6-7 years ago. And then I think a second time was my wife surprised me with a trip to New York for my 40th. And I just knew as soon as we got there that we were just gonna pizza trek. And we did. We ate a ton of pizza and took away what we could, and just really connected with it as kind of an American thing that it is now.
It seems, because we've been talking. We ate some pizza before this. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
We were talking though in the kitchen about your hand was kind of forced, right, into the pizza game.
Sure.
You were living in the Bay. You found yourself in Temecula, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think it's a pretty common story for everybody in the industry is that, when COVID hit, lots of people lost their jobs, and me and my wife were no different. We had been thinking about doing this for a little bit anyways, but COVID was the catalyst. We had, like everybody, I think we thought that, 2 or 3 weeks to tame the curve or whatever it was, and we're just going to ride it out. And then it wasn't that. And then we had more serious conversations of like, okay, so now that there's no jobs, we obviously had a little cushion, but, there's a house payment and there's, all these things. And so what are we going to do? And at the time, I really thought that the housing market was going to crash. And I knew that our house was worth a little bit more than what we had paid for it. So I was like, you know what? Maybe we should get out of this and do something different, And so I was looking in California because we love California. Like where are good school districts and where are affordable houses? And, Temecula like ticked the boxes. And it reminds me of the town I grew up in. I grew up in Colorado in Fort Collins, it's a kind of an agricultural town. It's like the biggest vet school and animal husbandry and all that stuff. So, kind of moving to a honky-tonk, podunk town was like not foreign to me.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of, like how I was raised, like good schools, good teachers, safe spaces, parks, good neighbors, so we did that. We moved to Temecula. The idea for the food truck was already there. Temecula was even a better spot because of the wineries. And the rule during COVID was that if you wanted to be open, you had to serve food, and you couldn't just like sell bags of chips. So all the wineries out there and all the breweries were looking for food trucks. And I thought, this is perfect. This is how we'll get our start. It won't be hard to break in. So we found a truck in Palmdale. It was a retired postal truck, it was like a mobile post office. And the guy said that, like, you know, when there's forest fires or hurricanes or whatever, they keep the mail going and they just pull this truck up. So it already had a window and a lid on the door and empty box. And I was like, this is perfect. We'll just build the truck. And it took us about, I would say, like 4 months, built the truck in the driveway, you know, got the plans all through permitting and fire and health code and all that stuff. And then we were just there in wine country selling pizza and figuring it out as we went.
What kind of oven did you put in your mail truck?
So it's a Peerless.
Okay.
It's out of Sandusky, Ohio. It's got 4 decks.
I know that oven. There's like the small.
It's a tabletop.
Yeah.
So what I was able to do was I would pull up usually an hour before we had to be open, and I would start cooking off pies and just racking them, and those would be for slices. And then we built everything on the truck. There was no we had a commissary for prep, but there was no pizza oven in the commissary. So the only pizza oven we had was on the truck. So we built and stretched everything on the truck. But then, you know, people could come and order custom pizzas. So I could have like 2 pizzas going and like slices for, you know, 10, 12 people going, you know, and just rotating through. And that's what we did.
And was this like the sole income that you had coming in?
Yeah. Besides, like the pandemic checks and stuff like that. Yeah. That's all we had. Cause my wife.
Was your wife working with you at that point?
She would help me do prep and stuff like that. The truck is pretty small.
Where is the truck?
It's not far. It's a couple blocks from here in like a self-storage.
Do you still use the truck?
Yeah, about once a month maybe.
For catering?
Yeah, it's buyouts. We don't pop up or post up.
Yeah.
Like there's a dispensary a few blocks from here. They have us out about once a month. They just say, hey, just come give out free slices to our customers, and that's what we do. And
they just give you the upfront fee, and then you go.
We've got a deal, and they just like we're there tomorrow morning. I think from 11 to 3 or something like that. Yeah,
sounds like a great dispensary.
It is.
You want to give those guys a shout out?
Yeah, Flower Co.
The Flower Co.
Flower Co. The first licensed dispensary in Corona.
Oh, go pick up your buds there. Well, we were also talking. You got a pizzeria across the street from you.
Yes.
Actually, we can get back to that.
Okay.
First of all, because we're on this journey. How long were you slanging and banging pies out of this truck until you found this spot?
Not a long time. I would say just a little over a year.
And were you already developing recipes like by the time that you got into your truck, or like how did that work out, and how much has it changed from then to now?
We were doing pizzas like before the truck was even built, like in a backyard. It's like one of those like kind of like little dome Coleman type things, you know, stick it out over the burner. And yeah, so we were doing pizzas in the backyard, really working on the recipe on the dough. It's been through, I would say, a million versions. And it's just like little tweaks here and there. But it's from that point, it's changed a lot. And then, you know, obviously you almost have to adapt doughs for the oven. So for the Peerless, it was this. When we moved here, and these were different ovens, it changed the dough slightly. And I think, you know, like where we have it now with, you know, kind of the multiple steps and the pre-ferment and all that stuff, I'm really happy with where it's at for, you know, kind of a commercial. I wouldn't say it's an artisanal crust, but, you know, it's for like kind of off the shelf brand name like All Trumps and, you know, commercial yeast and stuff like that. Pretty happy with where the dough is.
And then how you got in here is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's kind of insane.
I like to ask the question like, what is your estimate for like getting into the situation that you're in? I think that you got a bit of a unicorn here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to share that information because when you shared it with me, I wanted to bang my head on the table. But yeah.
Well, this is actually the third restaurant I've owned. And through that group that I was a part of, and multiple jobs, I'd say overall I've probably opened about 15 restaurants over my career. From buying equipment, doing plans, working with builders and all that stuff, to this one, which was a pizza restaurant before the pandemic or during the pandemic.
Had they opened up prior to the pandemic?
I think they were open about a year.
Okay.
And I think that they gave it a good shot. I think that they, at one point, stopped caring and then just shut it down. And so I had gotten an email because I was like Restaurant Realty, I think .com, just posts like what's coming up and available. And I saw this and it just said Pizza Restaurant Corona. And I'm like, well, Corona's not that far from Temecula. So I clicked on it and, filled out the information that they needed. And then I wasn't the only person that wanted this spot, but we had a business plan that I think was sharp enough to grab these guys' attention. And they actually ended up coming to one of the wineries where I was posted up, tried the pizza, and they're like, yeah, we'll have you. We need to work out the details, but the spot's yours. There's no key money. Really, we want the place open. We want the rent paid. We want the lights on. It's a sore thumb right now.
Yeah.
So it took us about 3 months. The longest thing was the liquor license transfer. We basically redecorated, changed some of the equipment, moved some stuff around a little bit, but nothing that required permits or like building permits or anything like that. And we're open pretty quick. So yeah, we were handed about a $500,000 build out.
That's what I was going to guess.
Yeah.
About a $500,000 build out and said, here you go.
Yeah.
And then they said, you can keep the equipment.
If we last 3 years, we get to keep the equipment.
All the TVs were included?
TVs were here.
What is this, like 3,000 square feet?
It's just over 2.
Okay.
So we're like at like 2068 or something like that. Yeah, I mean, the biggest gift, which I was not sold on immediately, was the beer wall.
I was going to ask you about this because I didn't know that this was like a second gen spot, but I was like, what was obviously knowing that it wasn't now, like you didn't envision this wall. I've also never seen anything like this. For anyone who's just listening, how many beers on tap here?
There's 20.
There's 20 beers on tap. Each tap has a screen and you just get like a wristband.
Yeah, so the wristband activates the tap and it keeps track of what you pour. So it's self-serve beer wall. I've always been, the kind of guy that likes a bartender and likes, kind of the banter, but everybody really, really likes the system. I think the main thing that is like nice about it is that you don't have to commit to a whole beer. You can have 2 ounces, 4 ounces. So even if you're like on your lunch break and I'm just like, I'll have a little beer. Or there's no like getting somebody's attention. There's no waiting in line. Your beer is gone. You just stand up and get more.
Is this a different kind of like beer and wine license to be able to do this? To be like a self-serve beer?
No, it's just the straight. What is it? 41?
Yeah, the 41.
Yeah,
it's like the adult shakies up in here. Make a graveyard.
Yeah, totally.
Like 16 beers.
Suicide down the whole thing.
I'm gonna have them all, brother. Would you have this beer wall in all of your concepts?
Considering how expensive it is to just install it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what's the payback on it? Like, how long is it going to take to pay that off? I asked because it needed some maintenance and stuff when we moved in. It wasn't all perfectly working. So the guys that installed it, I had them come and rework some of the stuff. And I asked them, and I go, what did they spend on this? He goes, this is about $100,000. And
it looks like $100,000. I saw the walk-in and there's like little fucking iPads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a company called I Pour It does it, and they're local.
Is this, have you seen this before ever? You've seen it before? Yeah. In Culver City? Pittsburgh. I've never seen it in California.
I think they're big, like San Diego area.
I could see that.
And yeah, I mean, they're installing them all the time. They're in high demand. This company. yeah, I think it. I don't know. It makes for a different experience.
100%. I think it's like cool because it's like you got counter service, but the beer wall thing definitely adds like a different kind of overall atmosphere and experience to the whole thing. I mean, it's still very family friendly here,
Right.
and I think this beer wall is very family friendly too. It's very cool. I've never seen it.
Yeah, I think when people come and they don't know that it's here, like they just happen to be here for the pizza, or somebody said go check them out or whatever, and then they see this and they're like, wait, what is that? And so I think eventually it'll become its own draw.
Yeah.
And we have people that come and just drink. They don't even eat our pizza.
Well, there's a lot to drink here.
Yeah, which is great because I'm not, working on brewing beer or the inputs to that is way less.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody had their kid's birthday party here and I saw this wall, I would be pretty stoked. I'd be like, yeah, they picked a good spot here.
Yeah, I think we're kid friendly and adult friendly.
Yeah. You talked about a business plan. A lot of people I talked to have never done a business plan. They don't really, know exactly what a business plan is for or when it's for. Do you have any advice on that process?
For sure.
Or, any, like where to go to look at a good business plan?
I mean, I'd be happy to send anybody my business plan.
There we go.
I think it's a very personal thing. And I think that the business plan, more than anything else, is not for, obviously it's for raising money or interesting investors. But I think first of all, it's for you and putting your vision on paper and deciding, what's the vibe or what's the concept, what are the colors, what is the logo going to look like, and all these like critical things that I think a lot of people put off, and like it'll figure itself out or we'll get it when we're opening, when there's no time for that. For me, it's just the foundational step, and yeah, you need to crunch the numbers, and I have like a really good like restaurant calculator where you can just put in all your inputs, like what's the rent, what's the utilities, how much do you think your payroll is going to be, how many people do you think you're going to see on a Tuesday night, and it'll put it for the year, and you go, well, this either works or it doesn't work, so it's for as passionate as people are, the numbers don't lie, and you could maybe be doing the best thing, but if your business isn't making any money, you're not going to last. And so if you're passionate and you have something that you want to share, you got to make sure that you can put that in a format where you can be around and share it with people. So that's the whole point.
Yeah, I feel like that part of a business plan, though, like projections and like all the numbers part is like what people get kind of like flustered on because they're like, oh, I don't know these numbers yet.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's important probably if you're out there making a business plan is you just kind of, you fly by the seat of your pants. You kind of be honest with yourself.
Yes.
But I would underestimate rather than overestimate your funds at the beginning.
Totally. Well, and everything costs twice what you thought it did anyways.
Yeah, unless it's you and you get into a space like this. You crazy man.
I know. Well, we still spend a good amount of money, just to get a sign on the front of the building. It's like, well, there's $7,000.
Yeah.
And you're like, geez, really? Like,
well, with your branding, first of all, why is it called Fat Lip? I thought he either loves Sum 41 or like Souls of Mischief and hieroglyphics. That's Fat Lip, right? The rapper?
No, Farside.
Farside, that's right.
Yeah.
I've met him multiple times. He's a wild guy.
I bet.
Yes.
No, Fat Lip. Actually, my wife came up with. We were going around with a million names. Pizza Cult, Raised by Wolves. Just like wild stuff, and we're kind of out there on names, anyways. But she's like, well, the edge of the pizza is called like cornicione in Italian, and she's like, how would we put that in English? And I go, well, it's just the fat lip on the outside. And she's like, that's it, fat lip. And, out of it, you got two words that are easy to spell. Like people looking you up online are not going to punch in fat lip wrong, like they'll find you.
Yeah.
So there's a few dimensions to it, but really it's just that bigger, thicker crust on our round that we do. And that was You know, in my mind, I guess it's kind of a cross between like New York style and Neapolitan, but not Neapolitan like quick cook wet, just like big crust, something to hold on to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we started, and that's pretty much where it is now.
Who did the branding?
We hired a company out of LA. They're called Iris, which is EYERUS. They came by a friend that has a bunch of restaurants in Manhattan Beach. Chef David Lefebvre, amazing chef. Charlie Trotter's alumni. That's where my wife met him. And we were, you know, it was lockdown, and we're like, you know, got the name figured out and kind of the branding and what we wanted. And we love the way his stuff looks. All his stuff is so sharp. And so they do all his branding. And we're like, well, hey, who do you use? And he put us in touch. And I think it was a stroke of luck that it was during the pandemic and that they were slow. There wasn't a lot of work that they would even take us on, because we're small potatoes. They're doing stuff for Disney, Pixar.
Were you still in the truck at this point?
The truck wasn't the truck was in the driveway, but it wasn't done
so
yet.
You're just cooking pizzas out of the Coleman at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
And just like envisioning this brand and this process and how we're going to get it. And it was solely truck at that time. And so we hired them, and they turns out that they're kind of like about my same age and kind of ex-BMX bikers. And their stuff is like edgy, which we kind of liked. And we're like, hey, we kind of want it to be like skate punk rock, but like family friendly. So like, not like watered down, but like, you know, punk light, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so we gave them the name, and we had a long phone conversation, and they're like, we get it. We love you guys. I think we see it. They came back 2 weeks later with the logo, all of like, so the hallways, like, you know, all of these like little.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That's all that's like
all that little stuff.
Your
they
wax
did
paper.
All of that. And we're like, okay, no revisions. We love it all. And that was it.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. We're like, it's perfect. They came up with the colors, the gray and the yellow. Yeah, they killed it. And, you know, we were really fortunate to have gotten to work with them. I went back with them when we added the beer component. We had to change the logo from Fat Lip Pizza to Fat Lip Pizza and Beer. And I went back, and she's like, I love you. We're busy. We're too busy. We can't do that. She's like, we have a guy that used to work for us. He'll do it cheaper than us too.
Yeah.
And so now he's our guy.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Cheaper is great.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I love the branding. I love the simple, like the font they did, the Fat Lip Pizza and Beer. When Steve took off his shirt to take a picture of Steve Dolinsky, like it just like, it pops the yellow on the black. It's like, what the fuck is Fat Lip? And Steve's like, oh, you got to check them out. And then randomly, we saw each other at the Petramale Pizza Convention last Friday.
I don't even know how LOL Caesars.
David did.
David, yeah. We just started DMing for whatever reason. He goes, hey, there's going to be a lot of LA pizza guys at this pop-up. You should be there. And I was like, it was like the night before, like 10 o'clock. And so I'm like, all right, well, I got to find coverage. I'm going to go do it. Because, you know, I'm on a bit of an island out here, mm-hmm. right? There isn't a pizza, like a Corona pizza community of guys, you know? So when I can meet people and network, and then we can, you know, throw ideas off of each other and, you know, just kind of rap about the business, I feel like it's really valuable for me, just so that I'm not on an island and I'm not oblivious to what other guys are doing or what, you know, what's happening.
Yeah. No, I'm a huge believer in all of that. I think I didn't even know. I thought I was just going to show up there with Sean from Secret Pizza LA and like we were going to eat some Petramale, but there was like fucking 15 of us.
There was a good turnout. Well, did David? I feel like he kind of orchestrated that whole thing. Anyways,
100% he did. Yeah. But I just didn't know. I was like, anyways. It is really important, I think, to have that community. I think that in the last year in my career alone, having built friendships with people in LA and being able to like hit people up for certain things, ask questions, maybe complain about a Yelp review or like, what the fuck is this? Like, mm-hmm. Are you dealing with this same thing? Has been like really nice because I don't know. I never had a mentor in pizza or in cooking, really, that you could just like kind of lean on. And it's like I've been in the game for a long time, but like, you know, I just opened up a brand new restaurant, and you go through the same shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's real nice to have somebody to cry on your shoulder when people are being mean.
Well, and I think what I've seen from like just the pizza community is that it's not like this ego-driven chef community that I was a part of, where like people won't tell you what type of flour they're using or who they're getting this from or all these secrets. Everyone's like, oh no, I use this. This is my hydration. Have you dealt with that? Or who's your box guy? You know, you got to check out my box guy. And like, it's completely different than more of a competitive chef world.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Or really any other industry. There's like there's no real big flex out there. Everyone gets together and like has, I mean, like, dude, we're all using the same shit. You know, it's like flour, water, yeast, whatever it is. And everyone's going to do it different.
Yeah. And most guys are still slinging out their own pizzas, you know, so everybody knows the grind.
Yeah.
And it's not like my grind is harder or better than yours. I know that you're in the grind too.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, we're kind of, I don't know, like pizza soldiers or something like that. You know, it's just like, there is no like huge flex about it. It's just like, this is kind of what we do.
Yeah.
And if you need something, or like your mixer breaks and you need to use my mixer, come on down, just bring it, you know, like, no
yeah,
sweat.
or like my mixer broke. Like, do you have a fucking mixer guy? You know, it's
Yes,
like, yes,
exactly.
it's
Who's
like,
your Hobart guy?
Yeah, and those are like the saving graces, because it's like that's not an easy thing to find on Google.
No.
But that was fun, and Petromale's pizza is as good as David
It's amazing.
said it was.
Yeah.
But let's get back to this competition across the street.
Sure.
How were you welcomed into this community, knowing that the cream of the crop is across
Right.
the street from you?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't know, because I don't live here in Corona.
Can you give me a background too of this restaurant?
Sure. So Lamppost Pizzas across the street, they actually, where this apartment complex sits now, used to be, I think, a Sears and like a Montgomery Ward. And then it became,
Rest in peace.
yeah, and then it became a swap meet. And I think that Lamppost was actually here on this side of the street. They probably built that building and moved across the street. And they've been doing their Corona pizza since like 1974 or something like that. And I know they have a couple other shops dotted around Southern California here.
They do. They have multiple locations?
Yes. But I know that in Corona, it's Lamppost. And because it's like multi-generational now, you know, so if you were in the 80s and you had your birthday party there, now you're taking your kids there. And it's, you know, it's also counter service. They have like one side of it that's kind of more brewery, bar-ish. But then, you know, it's a lot of TVs and a lot of families, and they're packed all the time.
Yeah.
People said, you have some balls opening a pizza restaurant across the street from Lamppost. And I like, well, number one, it was a pizza restaurant before, so I'm just moving in.
Yeah.
And number two, I didn't know. And I think the gist of it is that we just do different pizza than them. So if you're a fan of that, stay there. You know, like, eat their pizza. If you're into what we're doing here, then now we're here. We're another option. You know, and I think there's room for everybody. I mean, God, pizza is just like so in demand. And then now with kind of the new pizza movement, people being excited about pizza and talking about pizza, or watching pizza reviews online, or, you know, having a sourdough starter in their house, you know, like messing around with that during COVID. I think the whole thing just went somewhere I've never seen it before.
Yeah. Your story is very popular. You're not the only one. You know what I mean?
I thought I was.
I think out of like the 34 guests we've had, probably like 10, maybe, you know, over 20%.
Yeah.
30% of our guests have been like, they started in the pandemic, you know, and now they're full blown, have careers in the pizza industry.
Yeah.
It's just like kind of a crazy it's crazy for me to think that like this thing happened and like there was an explosion. I call it the renaissance of the pizza community because the story is very popular and it's still happening. It's not even like the pandemic. We're going to talk to a couple of people that are still like in pop-up phases or have just been popping up for like the last 6 months. It's just, it also happened. Like, it's funny because you didn't even mention like an uni or a rock box. Like, there's just so many different ways now that you can kind of do mobile pizza. Whereas like, I don't think it was that easy for pizza to be like a street food.
Right.
Like even, 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I know the only one that I had ever heard of, and I don't remember his name, but it's in LA, and he had basically a stone dome in the bed of a pickup truck.
The guy in the parking lot in LA?
Yes.
What's his name, dude? His pizzas are fucking insane. He's
been doing it forever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Emilio's or
yes.
something
like that.
They did like Vice or somebody did like
yes.
a whole thing on
a huge thing. Yeah. And I looked at that and I was like, damn, dude, like he's just doing that. Like, like
and crushing.
Yeah, and crushing it. It can't be that hard. And so I mean, I don't know. The business model of pizza, the ability to get it in a truck on the street, and not be just like another taco place or a fusion place or a mac and cheese. And I'm not knocking those guys, like, because the food truck community is another community too, right? Yeah. But I almost never saw pizza, and so it was like I want to do a pizza truck, and that Vice. I watched that and I was like, I can do that. Like
that was like during the pandemic too.
Yeah, but he'd been doing it for a few years already.
Yeah, no, he'd been out there in that parking lot. He actually got shut down and had to.
He had to go through health department
and get a truck. Some fucking narcs out
That's
there.
Right.
Yeah, that was a super inspiring story though. Like him doing dough in like that back house and that spiral mixer and like a laundry room.
Yes.
And like, it's like, yo, this guy's fucking doing it. The way they were like moving around that huge ass oven on the truck bed.
Yeah. And it didn't break.
Yeah. And that's inspiring stuff though.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these situations are still inspiring other people to do things. I mean, in LA, the pizza scene has exploded.
It's amazing.
And I mean, it must be nice, really, though, to only have one other pizzeria here.
Yeah,
and it's so different. You know what I mean?
Completely
like
different.
you're gonna go over there for a certain thing.
Yep.
You're gonna come over here for another thing.
Yep.
It's the same. It's dough, sauce, and cheese, but done in such a different way.
Different ways. Yeah, I think there's one more on the south end of town, and I think that they're pretty popular too. But all the other pizza in town is just the chains. Yeah. So it's kind of whatever stuff.
So this is like in an apartment complex.
Yeah. So we have 3 floors above us of residents, and then there's a building across the street and a building across the street that way. So within walking distance is 1,000 apartments. So I don't know how many residents that is, but we definitely have regulars. A lot of regulars.
I was gonna say, I mean, it makes people love convenience, and so like being able to like just come downstairs, grab a beer and a slice.
Yep.
Do you see that? Like that's like the anchor here is this apartment complex.
I mean, so we have a decent amount of restaurants right here, just in the complex.
Yeah.
And I think that the good thing is that nobody is in competition with each other. It's actually in the lease. So we have a taco place. There's a steamed seafood, like a kick and crab. There's a pho place. What am I missing? There's ice cream. There's burgers.
You'd literally never have to leave the parking lot. You could move in here.
Yeah.
Just become the whale.
Exactly. So, it's very convenient for the residents. I definitely see people in here multiple times a week. I see people in here in pajamas and slippers.
Why get dressed?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, and we're like, we know most of them by name.
Yeah.
We know what they're having before they even walk up to the counter. Sometimes they call it in and just pick it up. Other times they stay and have a beer. But then, after that we have, I would say, decent number of regulars that don't live here. But the awesome thing is I see new faces all the time. So that means that people are obviously talking about us, and telling other people to go check them out, because this is kind of novel for Corona. Like this wouldn't be that novel in LA, but Corona that is kind of sleepy. Basically, lights are out in this town by 8, 9 o'clock. We close early, but I think to have kind of a number one, a mom and pop shop that I hope is pretty polished and like kind of ready to go. People are into it because everything out here is, it's all chains.
Yeah, I did see a lot of Targets driving in.
Yeah.
A lot of Targets. Which shout out Target.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Do you have to deal with third-party delivery out here?
We do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it a lot of your business?
It's becoming more and more. It wasn't at first. I think it's hard to show up on a platform like that and be noticed. Like literally, if you were going to DoorDash, you'd have to look for us to find us. I think that we're popping up more and more because I see, how much more of the business that's becoming. And I'll be honest, I think it's great. We take the hit slightly. We're on like one of the lower tier kind of price plans. So it makes your radius smaller. You don't pop up on stuff. But for what it is, it's better than standing around and doing nothing.
Yeah.
If it's, and it gets busy at weird times, it's like 3 o'clock on a Tuesday and we're like shift change and like kind of wiping down and stuff. And then, just tickets start popping up for DoorDash or Grubhub or whatever. And you're like, oh, great. We're cleaning up and shift changing, but we're making money too.
Yeah.
Because it's not a constant flow through the door.
Yeah.
I would say through the door is like meal times. It's lunch, boom, dinner, boom,
When you guys opened up, did you have like a marketing plan of like how to get your name out there?
Not really. I mean, I've done like, before it was Instagram, it was kind of more PR. So you'd hire a company that would like, try to get like a San Francisco Chronicle review or, enough people talking about it. But now it feels like, well, and at the time I don't know, we spent a lot of money on that. And I don't think that it really did much for us. But that was like 2008, 2009. And now I think we had already made a little bit of a name for ourselves in Temecula with the food truck. We were trying to figure out how to translate that up here. And I think a lot of it was just Instagram and actually having, some food influencers come, just they do their reel, they post it. I think one of those reels that we hired somebody to do got like, I don't know, like 250,000 views.
Well, I got to stop you because I think you had Raina is Crazy
Yes.
in here.
Yes.
Did you reach out to her to come?
I did, but that was before she had blown up because I just saw an article, New York something just featured her. I don't remember.
Well, she came in and fucking crushed your
Yes.
what we just ate. We all had one slice of. She killed that in 15 minutes.
She did
an 18-inch cheese pizza.
She did 9.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then my initial thought with that was, let me get somebody in here who actually is a professional eater, and let's design a challenge with them that's realistic. The thing I hate about food challenges is that they're just unrealistic, and nobody beats it, nobody wins.
Yeah.
It's like you have to dangle the carrot. So she told me, she's like, okay, 15 minutes for a normal person I think is a great time. If they're competitive eaters, you should ask that they do it in less than 10. And we had one guy in here that did it in 3.5 minutes.
Dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Is there a video of that?
Yeah.
Disgusting.
It was gross. But he had this.
Dude, what the
He had this jaw. Like, it was like a huge triangle. I mean, the guy just.
Like the dude, like fucking Thanos came in here and fucking ate a pizza in 3.5 minutes.
Yeah. He smashed it. And yeah. So I would say on that, it's about 50-50. 50% of the people that try it get it done,
yeah,
and 50% don't, which I'm pretty happy with that. Because the deal is like, if you win, you don't pay, and if you don't, you just pay, and that's it. And it's like, so kill a whole cheese and is it 2 pints of beer or 3 pints? No, 2 pints of beer. The beer is usually the challenge for most people. Actually, the challenge, people are like, that's not that much food. And you're like, yeah, I know it's not, but it's a lot of chewing. And you get tired real quick if you're not doing it. So that's usually what gets people is the chewing.
Fuck, dude. So did you hire anybody else to come in, or did you do any other influencer
No, I reached out
that,
if I find somebody that's like really kind of killing it, especially locally, like there's Only in the IE. He's on Instagram. He came and did a reel for us, and I don't know how specific you want me to be.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to know, well,
because I was thinking of like what we paid him and then what we noticed in the sales.
Oh my! Well, that's what I want to know, and I want to know about Raina too, because like this is, I think, I'm not afraid to ask like how much you paid for something.
Okay.
But it's just up to you if you want to tell us all.
Sure.
Because we're all wondering.
Sure.
You know.
I mean, Raina was very reasonable. I don't remember. I think it was less than $200.
Okay.
Only in the IE. We gave him $500 for the reel, and then he collab posted it with us. It got damn near 300,000 views, and I think it turned into like $20,000 worth of revenue. I shit you not. From the month that wasn't posted to the next month, huge difference.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Me personally, like I've always had a hard time like swallowing my pride and reaching out to an influencer because it's hard to find like one that maybe you really respect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. Raina eats, or Raina is crazy. Like I'll watch that shit. And I've never heard of Only in the IE, but I imagine like if you're paying him $500, like this dude, is he only food guy?
Like one of the main food guys for the Inland Empire.
Yeah, I feel like that's just kind of like where you put marketing dollars now.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna Yelp and Google are only going to like, and that doesn't even get you sales. You know, I guess you just want to be careful of like, and only in the IE, that's like, you can, that's regional, like that's right in your neighborhood.
Yes.
You know that like, you're not just going to get some Instagram followers.
Sure.
And like 1 or 2 people trickle in. You've gotten an influencer.
Well, yeah, and we have people that come in and they go, "Oh, we saw you on TikTok. We saw you. We saw this video that this guy posts, or this or that, or." So it works.
Yeah.
I know it works.
Yeah.
Mr. Biggs is the other one. He posted us right after we opened, and everyone's came in. We saw you on Mr. Biggs. We saw you on Mr. Biggs. It's like, so people follow that stuff, and it's for people that maybe aren't in the know. It's a way to know of what's happening, what's coming up, what's different or might be interesting.
Well, of course, and I think that like that's really like that's how people are finding out about places these days. I still do use Yelp, but I wouldn't say that like maybe some of my younger employees use Yelp. They'll be like, "Have you heard about this spot I saw on TikTok?" And it's like, "What's TikTok?" No, I'm just joking. But you got to go where the people are.
Yeah.
I mean, is this an older community or like you said, there was like a lot of people probably commuting.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of commuting. I think that it is definitely an older community, but I think that there's a lot of families here too. I mean, like we were talking about how many elementary schools are around here.
You said 33?
33 in like the Norco Corona School District. So there's obviously a lot of little kids here and a lot of families. And, if you drive just a little bit south of here, it's like nice houses and driveways and front yards and, like kind of the picturesque, I don't know, place to raise a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last time I was in Corona was 9 years ago.
Wow.
I was picking up my dog, Kevin. He was illegally being bred in a house.
Oh my gosh.
He was a purebred Pekingese.
Oh,
He's
awesome.
He's beautiful, but don't judge me. I would still do it today. Can we talk about what you did with some of the schools here? I thought that was a great idea. We talked about it off camera.
Yeah. So, living in Temecula with a daughter that's in elementary school, she'll get these, free slice things. And it's for a place down there. And I was like, that's a great idea. And so I met with the principal of principals for the school district here and had 3,000 flyers printed up, and it just says "Thanks for being awesome" on it. And so teachers, principals, counselors, whoever can give these out to kids for any reason. And I didn't put anything on it like, hey, perfect attendance, good citizenship, you picked up that over there, whatever. Here's a slice. What it does is it rewards kids for doing the right thing, but it also, gives them almost like spending money, and they take it home, and all of a sudden you've got a kid in here with a free slice, an adult that probably wants a pizza, a salad, some beer, and you're, so for that spend, you've got $30-$40 walking in the door. Excuse me.
Yeah, and it's also like kind of awesome what maybe that does for a kid's confidence, and like it's so exciting. I talked about like the Book It program with Pizza Hut. It was like so dope to go pick up your
once you got
like
all your stars.
Reward, but to be like praised at school, and then you go get a fucking sick slice. Dad's drinking a couple beers.
Pizza. Yeah, just to kind of dovetail on that, it kind of puts you in the community, and so whether we want to sponsor a sports team or have, youth sports leagues like come in for their end of the year thing, we always try to like make this a place that they can come.
Yeah. Did you sponsor any teams or anything?
Didn't sponsor.
I've always like wanted to sponsor like a little league team. Have it just say Hot Tongue.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
It's I think initially when we first opened up and we were getting solicited for that, the cash was just tight.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, and maybe like next year or something like that, but it's just they ask for a lot of money. It's like it's not just like a couple $100. Like if you really want to make an impact, it's like
it's a couple G's.
At least a G. Yeah. Like and what you get, so you get like a like one of those like vinyl signs, like on the fence at the field, or you're in the program or whatever. And I'm like, how many people are really looking at those? I want to get uniforms for the kids, but is it the bang for the buck?
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you how much you paid for your branding.
For the branding?
The branding package.
Yeah. So, and granted, I think that these are friend prices.
Of course.
Because you
don't have to give us the exact number. I would say what should somebody be prepared to pay for you to be able to give somebody a vision board and they come up with this sick design?
I would say that ours, like all in, was, I'll give a range. I think it's between like $6,000 and $8,000.
Yeah.
I think obviously there's way cheaper options. I think that you get what you pay for. And you're also asking an artist for, a piece of their mind and their talent. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that those things should be done cheaply. Mm-hmm. People are like, oh, Canva or ChatGPT or these things, like you can, I don't know, hire somebody from Thailand or something like that and they work for nothing. And, but I don't think we should discount creative people's stuff. I don't know why, like I feel really strongly about that. But I think it's also the nature of pizza and putting yourself out there by opening a restaurant and saying, hey, this is my version of this. And this is the way I think it should be, or this is the music I think we should play. This is mine. And hiring someone to do artwork is like, that's theirs, and you pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's just like a good way of looking at anything, especially when you run a business and you run your own business. I think it's easier to think that way. Like I know I probably value more people's time because I know how much time goes into everything that I do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like people only see a finished product, right? And they think, how hard can that be? Right. Everyone does it.
Right.
I watch reality television. I'm like, I could do that. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like we're so stupid.
Uh-huh.
So what you just said really resonates. I think it's easy. And I think branding is to me, branding is an important thing. I like to look at a brand.
Yeah.
I like to be like, I like the whole package. When you come in here in your shop, you got the yellow cover, like the seats are mismatched. You got You got the hallway, you got the yellow in the kitchen, the plywood, you got a little like honeycomb thing here. Like it all fits together.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's like it's very thought out.
Well, I think, and you don't always get it on your first shot. I feel lucky that we kind of nailed it on this first one. But the way it is, the way it looks, the way the pizza is, the way it sounds and feels in here, I want it to be repeatable, because I want another shop, or I want 5 of these shops or 10 of these shops. I don't know. But, you've got to be able to repeat it, and you've got to be able to be consistent. And that's actually like one of the biggest compliments that we get is that people come in, they go, it's the same every single time I come. And I go, thank you.
That's what you want to hear.
Yeah, because that's what we're going for.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't want people to ever walk away and be like, oh, they're having an off night or just wasn't that great. And then they'll think about you next time and they're like, it wasn't that great last time.
Yeah, I used to love that spot.
Yeah.
The last time I had
used to be a lot better.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up.
The whole thing is there's a million pieces to it, right?
Yeah.
And it's all just trying to make it all come together.
I do feel like with branding and stuff, it being important for like the future play, and like you can still open up a restaurant with minimal branding, and like that could also be part of your vibe, and like none of it matters, and your pizza's so good, and it is what it is. But if you want to grow and you want to be a bigger brand, your branding and the stake that you put down and say, this is what we look like, this is how things feel like at Fat Lip, like this is what we, this is who we are. You kind of you walk into your own world,
right?
I think that's where it's really important. The vision is there, like you said. You can take this concept and you could probably, in a certain amount of square footage, slap it down in Chino Hills.
Yep. Exactly.
Or down the street, and it's going to be recognizable. It's going to be easy to know that that's Fat Lip.
Yeah.
Because your branding is so strong.
Yeah, and I think, going back to what you said, where you can go in minimally and the pizza speaks for itself. I feel like, though, that's like getting struck by lightning, right? Like that, when that happens for somebody that like has a I don't give a shit attitude, but they make it, it's like, well, yes, you've been blessed or something.
100%.
And I'm not going to roll the dice on getting struck by lightning. I'm going to put every effort in that I can to make it look like I give a shit, and it's polished and clean, and that the bathrooms are clean. And
nice bathrooms, by the way. Very nice bathroom. I like it has like the little handles so you don't have to touch the seat. I was like, yo, this thing's fucking sick. I need this at home.
No, I mean, I'm just trying to give myself every advantage that I can.
Yeah.
And that's like, if that's hiring an influencer and swallowing my pride or something like that, like, who cares, dude? If I'm not my biggest cheerleader, then who is?
Yeah. No, listen, I agree with that. It's like a conversation like this. This is what happens. I have these conversations with people, and like I get to hear your story, and then you tell me this, and then like I pretty much probably go home. I talk to my wife. I'm like, I think we should use influencers. You know what I mean? It's like, it just like, it's interesting that, sometimes I just have to hear it from somebody else, and it's not about, it also sounds like you did some research in that aspect, and it really worked out for you.
Yeah.
I mean, jumping back into that, did you use anyone other besides those 2 influencers?
I think we used, one other that was also very like local, like Inland Empire. And I think that one was good because it wasn't quite the same result, but it's one of those reels that still like 6 months, 8 months later keeps getting likes. So I don't know if it just
pops up.
He hit the right algorithm on it or whatever, and people are watching it. But it's buried on our page. It's like so cool.
Do you repost those things?
I've never reposted. Like I try to keep it fresh. And like try not to use the same music. I do a lot of my own like little reels.
Do you run your own Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I feel like you can set a vibe through an Instagram, like an account. And if I'm using, like Wu-Tang Clan or an oddball like beat from something and it's just over pictures of pizza, I'm like, well, that's us. That's our vibe, so not only do I want people to see like what we're doing, I kind of want them to get who we are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Would you ever hire your Instagram out?
Well, the great thing, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but I'm taking on a partner this spring.
Oh, shit. Okay. That's right.
And it's funny because this was a guy that I worked with at Hog Island in San Francisco. And I would say very close to like a few months before the pandemic even happened, me and him were like, let's do a pizza shop in SF. We were going to go out in the Sunset. He lived in the outer Richmond or something like that. And we had looked at a few spots and we had developed a business plan and we're going for it. But then obviously COVID changed everything. We ended up moving down here. They ended up moving to Portland. And because it's kind of a long story, but at the time they were just single couple. And they're like, Portland sounds like fun,
Yeah, they were wrong.
Well, as soon as they got there, she got pregnant.
Wrong. Yeah.
So they're still up there. Their daughter is now like, 1.5 or something like that. And I told him a few months ago, I said, because we talk about the business all the time. I'd be lying if I didn't want you to come and help me run it. And I think I just put the pin in right at the right spot. And he came back maybe a few months later and he goes, me and Angela have been talking about it. And I think we're going to move down there and help you run the shop. And I'm like, awesome, bring it. So he's coming. She, for her job, does social media. So she's going to run it.
Got it. Well,
So-
that's real nice.
Yeah. So,
Because they're like a G to $2,000 a month.
yeah.
Well, that's crazy. I mean, is he just going to buy equity into the company and that's how you're going to do it?
Yeah. He's,
Is there like moves for like expansion right away or?
not right away.
Okay.
By him coming, I'll be able to do more stuff other than just running the oven and doing payroll and whatever else. Because he's good at the stuff that I'm bad at, and I'm good at the stuff he's bad at.
That's what you want, right?
Yeah, and so I think we're probably just gonna have him learn this shop for a solid year and keep our eyes open and try and expand what we're doing here. We're also gonna run the truck way more. I want to get the truck out maybe like 4 days a week. Just have like regular brewery stops or like cannabis shops or whatever, you know, like, and yeah, so it's basically to do more with what we already have and then think about the second location.
If you could open up anywhere right now, where would it be?
Well, I'm living in Temecula right now.
So it would be Temecula.
It would be Temecula.
Outside of Temecula then, because you already said that.
Outside of Temecula, I would more want to move into like pizza deserts than places that are flush with pizza. So, I think there's a lot of like interesting stuff in Orange, like Orange County, and not even far from here, like Rancho. Like, why not put a spot in Rancho Cucamonga? Because I think the further out you get out here, it's more of the rubber stamp, just copy paste type shops.
No, I agree. That's great advice. I don't think that's said enough too. I think it's like, so I talked to somebody recently on the phone about like they've in New Jersey in this downtown area in the city that a spot opened up, but it was like twice as expensive as the second generation that's like in like a much smaller area, but it's like, family, there's nothing there, single family homes, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, stay the fuck away from the downtown location. Yeah. And I don't think enough people say that. Like, you think that it's location. And to me, I'm learning, especially after talking to multiple people and finding out, what's really hitting is you go where there's nothing.
Yeah.
And your success rate's going to be much higher. Even if like there's a shit ton of people in Silver Lake, where Hot Tongue's at, there's so many restaurants and so many choices,
so many options,
and so many good pizzerias. It's a great area. There's a ton of people, but there is so much choice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And people struggle with choice. You know what
do.
I'm saying? They really do. People don't even want that many choices.
No, and that actually. So 2 points. One, I think it's easy to be a big fish in a small pond, right? So, go make your splash where there isn't much.
Yeah.
And it's easier because you're like the only competition. Your competition is Domino's and Pizza Hut and all those other ones, but when it comes down to it, it's completely different. It's kind of the keep it simple, stupid model, right?
Yeah, I'm terrible at that.
Like for instance, with our menu, it's very small. It's, we've got the 6 varieties of slices that we have in the case, which are kind of our signatures. And it rotates every day on the one. So there's a variety at least there. But there's only 2 sizes. There's an 18-inch round and a 12-inch square. They're the same dough ball, the same recipe. And then we do like wings, meatballs, and 2 salads. And people come in, they go, oh, you don't have mozzarella sticks, or you don't have sandwiches, or why don't you have pasta? And I'm like, no, none of that. Like, why would we do a bunch of things mediocre when we can do a few things pretty well? You don't go to In-N-Out and ask for a chicken sandwich or iced coffee or something, like.
Yeah, like say, give me that double semantic
exactly.
fries.
It's like, I don't know when this McDonald's thing where like now, it's the all day gigantic menu with all these coffees and all this just garbage. You're like, how could you even make that work? Like from a logistics standpoint in a kitchen with all these materials or all these supplies and all these different recipes. It's like, no, dude, do a few things right. And they'll come. Like you don't see a line at In-N-Out, right?
Like, wherever you're at.
Yeah.
There's cars wrapped around the building.
Yeah. And they do 3 things.
Yeah. And they do them well.
Yeah. And I think that more businesses are going that way. I see more things moving that way where it's like, this is just our single concept and we're sticking to it and fuck everything else.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do? Bring a fryer in here and make mozzarella sticks for what?
Yeah. K.I.S.S. I was looking at like keep it simple, stupid,
Yeah.
I printed out a picture of K.I.S.S. And I think that like, that's really like, maybe how I understood that though. Instead of like actually keeping it simple, I like fully got into costume, put on makeup, and like I went the exact opposite way. I never should have printed that picture out. Anyways, keep it simple, stupid. That is great advice.
And I think that for somebody that is a little bit more inexperienced or naive in the business, or like has a vision of like doing something, it's very important to edit your thoughts because you want to accomplish a lot and tackle the world and do everything and do it all beautifully. But it's not practical, and you're going to make yourself crazy. And there's always room for expansion. Do a few things to start.
Yeah.
And master those.
Yeah.
And then if you want to do more, do more.
Well, I think we should end it there because that's great advice. And I got to, actually real quick,
Sure.
I think we should talk about this honey that I was gifted.
Yes.
You make your own hot honey.
We do.
In-house.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about this?
Absolutely. So obviously we were turned on by Mike's Hot Honey, but it wasn't the first time I'd seen honey on pizza. The first time was at a place in Colorado, in Idaho Springs. It's called Bojo's. Their style is Colorado mountain pie, but it has this massive whole wheat crust on it, and there's literally like honey bears on the table, and you knew that you just ate the pizza and saved all the crust for the end and split it open and slathered it with honey. It's like a sopapilla. And
when was that?
So that was in like elementary school. So that was like late 80s, early 90s.
Okay. It was a while ago.
Yeah. And so I, obviously reminded of honey on pizza by Mike's, but thought that, well, if we're going to take that concept, we have to do it ourselves, obviously. So we do a fermented habanero hot sauce. which is the base for a few of our other recipes here. And then it's just that hot sauce blended with some vinegar and honey. And so it gives it kind of this almost sweet and sour quality. I never wanted it to be too cloying or too sweet or too spicy or too vinegary. So I think it kind of hits the middle.
It's definitely well balanced.
And people, they're shocked. They're like, they didn't think that honey goes on pizza or this or that. Or so we're basically all in on the honey concept. Like, I know it for by this time, as opposed to a few years ago when it was kind of still a secret. Now it seems almost cliche or ubiquitous, but I'm sticking with it.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, it's delicious. I had some, and they put the same kind of habanero mix in the ranch. The hot ranch was fire too.
So we do hot ranch, and then we do one of the flavors for wings is habanero, and it's all the same base recipe.
Also, if you're ever out here in Corona, you better stop by because this man is a psychopath and gives out ranch for free.
It's all free.
He's making us all look bad. I'm charging
ranch for free.
I'm charging $2 for that shit.
Damn.
Yeah, they're like, but you know what? We did 10 grand in ranch sides.
Shit.
Yes.
That's a really good argument.
It's time to start charging for that ranch. It's fire too. Anyways, free ranch, dude. That's hard. This day and age, that is hard to beat. Okay, so the most important question: what is or who is the greatest artist or band of all time to you?
Jesus. Oh man. Okay, as a group, I don't think anybody's better than Wu-Tang Clan.
All right, hell yeah.
As an artist,
You kind of got Wu-Tang colors too.
that was part of it too.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, the black and gold.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and the Killer Bees.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Fuck, it's all coming together,
Yeah.
dude. Oh, dude. Enter the Wu, son. Woo!
Yeah, it's part of it.
Okay.
It's part of it.
I love it.
I'm a huge Wu head. I've seen them like 40, 50 times.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. As an artist, I think the RZA is the best. The beats, the rhymes, just spitting bars, man. Like,
Yes.
Oh my. Yeah.
Great producer.
Yeah, I just saw Raekwon and the Jizza like 2 weeks ago in LA, and it was just like, yeah, I lost my voice for like 3 days, and I was sore. I'm not as young as I used to be, but so like, I don't know. They're the best. They're the best.
Take your 10-year-old to that show?
No, she stayed home.
Not have you ever tried to get her to like listen to some
does,
Wu-Tang?
and she definitely thinks Wu-Tang is for the babies, and also that there ain't nothing to fuck with. So,
Nice.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And she's respect.
Yeah,
Respect. She knows what time it is.
she does.
Okay. Where do we go to get in contact with you to get all your recipes?
Gosh,
and
anything. So
and all of your
website is fatlitpizza.com, all one word. There's the email is info@fatlitpizza.com. The IG is fatlitpizza, all one word. I respond to everything. Email is probably the best. DMs are easy. But like I said, if I'm sending you PDFs or something like that, just email me.
Okay. Wonderful, dude. I think we might have to do some kind of like merch collaboration because Fat Lip and Hot Tongue,
I
like
know.
there's got to be something there.
Well, where did you get the name?
Hot Tongue was like the last band. I don't even know if you could call it that I was ever in. It was like the last music project before I basically was like, nope, I'm fucking done with this. And we recorded like one drunken album, and but that name came from Langer's Deli.
Yes.
Langer's Deli had a
tongue
dish.
sandwich?
It had a hot tongue side dish.
Awesome.
Yes, which was cow tongue, and at the time, it was an all vegan restaurant, so it was kind of like funny to name.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hot tongue was named after
a
cow
cow
tongue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it like a pastrami style or?
We didn't need it.
Okay.
But we just were like, what the fuck is Hot Tongue? And I was like, it's a great band name. Dude, all right. Thank you for your time.
Dude, I appreciate
He's about to have his employee party. People are about to get lit up in here.
Yeah. Have some fun.
4 o'clock is going to be a good time.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for the pizza.
No, you're welcome.
This was rad.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
Awesome.